Good day, everyone. I am Mae Khyla Garcia, 19, currently studying at Bukidnon State University as a second-year student, taking up the course of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. Today, I am speaking in behalf of my TTL group, the English Gizmos. As we highlight the importance of technology in teaching and learning, it is essential to not only identify the competency standards of ICT, but also unpack its basic concepts and values in teaching and learning processes. That is why in this video, we will be discussing about the findings of our survey entitled The Use of Information Communication Technology in Teaching and Learning Processes. Without further ado, here's our English Gizmo Jessevelle to discuss our survey factors and instruments used.
Thank you, English Gizmo Khyla. Before we show you the findings of our survey, I'll narrow down the specifics of how we were able to come up with it. Firstly, the survey was conducted on November 17 to 18, 2021. Our survey factors are as mentioned. First, participants. There were 20 teacher participants from public high schools in Region 10. Their names and other contact information irrelevant to the survey will be kept confidential. Secondly, the instruments used are as follows. A. Google Form. To limit the physical interactions, the survey was conducted online using a survey administration software. B. Questionnaires. The mode of the survey consisted of a 10-item questionnaire answerable by yes or no. And thirdly, we classified the participants through A. Years in service, wherein 30% served for 5 years, 15% served for 3 years, 10% served for 1, 2, and 7 years respectively, and the rest of the 45% of respondents served 1 year respectively. B. Region. Our selected region is Region 10. C. Educational level being taught is high school. Now, let's move on to discussing the findings of our survey.
Hi, I'm English Gizmo Joven, and I'll gladly tell you about the data gathered from the survey that we have conducted, beginning with how many people answered yes or no in each item, and how many in percentage there were. Let's start. The first question is, do you use technology in teaching? Out of 20 respondents, 95% or 19 of them responded with yes, while only 5% or 1% responded with no. The second question is, are you aware of the policies that guide you in the use of ICT? So in here, there are 90% who responded with yes, while 10% responded with no. For question number 3, 100% or all of the respondents answered yes, meaning all of the teacher participants are still using non-digital learning resources. The question number 4 is, do you develop digital resources for your learners? 80 respondents or 90% of them responded with yes, while the remaining 10% answered no. Now let's move on to the question number 5, which is, do you use technology tools for teaching? Here, our results discovered that 100% or all of the participants do use technology tools for teaching. Meanwhile, for question 6, 85% or 17 of the respondents answered yes, while the remaining 15% or 3 people answered with no when asked if they were experts in handling technology. The question number 7 asks, do you have facilities for technology tools in your classroom? Here, 90% responded with yes, while the remaining 10% responded with no. Moving on to question 8, the respondents were asked if they were aware of the ethical and legal responsibilities in the use of ICT tools. To this, 90% or 18 people responded with yes, while 2 people or 10% responded with the contrary. Question 9 asks, are your students learning better with the use of technology tools? To this, 80% of the respondents answered yes, while the remaining 20% responded with no. Finally, for the last question, the respondents were asked if they use technology tools in teaching. Here, 100% or all of the respondents voted that they did use technology in teaching. That's all for the data that we've gathered about a percentage for yes or no answers in each item. English Gizmo Febie, can you help us identify which items has more yes or no answers?
Of course, Joven. To identify which items has more yes or no answers, we will use the ranking method. On the bar chart presented on screen, the vertical axis represents the questions and horizontal axis represents the number of respondents. The bar in orange signifies those who answered with yes, and the yellow bar signifies those who responded on the contrary. It can be deduced through this chart that majority of the questions were answered with yes. However, let's delve deeper and discover more. In the table on screen, we can be able to identify that numbers 3, 5, and 10 are all the questions with the biggest numbers of yes votes, amounting to 100% of the respondents each. A close second with 95% of the respondents voting yes is question number 1. Third in the questions with the biggest yes votes are numbers 2, 4, 7, and 8. Question number 6 on the other hand garners 85% of yes votes, and lastly, number 9 gains the smallest amount of yes votes with 80% of the respondents. Now let's move on with ranking the questions with the most amount of no votes. First in rank is question number 9 with 20% of votes, followed by question number 6 with 15% of votes, garnering 10% of no votes, and in third place are questions number 2, 4, 7, and 8. Second to the last place is question number 1 with 5% of votes, and finally with 0% votes at all are questions number 3, 5, and 10. And those were the questions ranked in order of the respondents' answers. Now I'll give the screen to English Gizmo Heterae for the analysis, recommendations, and conclusions.
Thank you, Febie. Based on the data that we've gathered, let me share to you our recommendations. From the responses that we've gathered, it can be inferred that teachers are aware and do utilize technology in teaching in varying degrees. This means that our educational methods are advancing and teachers are starting to adapt to this change. However, it is also important to note that the data also emphasizes the presence of a gap on digital literacy when it comes to different policies, resources, and tools. With today's 21st century learners, teachers must be responsive and adjust to this change. Through careful analysis of our data, it can also be recommended that teachers be provided proper seminars and given appropriate teaching tools in order to maximize this new method of teaching. It is clear that through conducting this survey, we were able to gauge the understanding and openness of teachers when it comes to technology in teaching. The results gathered showed that our educators are very much open to the advancement in technology and are willing to incorporate it in their teaching styles. That's it for our recommendations. Now here's English Gizmo Stiffany to give us the final thoughts.
Thank you, Ray. Indeed, conducting this survey served as our reference in the use of information communication technology for teaching and learning. It allowed us to share the insights of our teachers and also assess for ourselves the relevance of technology in teaching. Not only that, but as future educators, this activity also showed us another angle of teaching and brought us closer to this profession. It is good to know that our teachers are keeping up with the global challenge of incorporating technology in teaching. We know that this will only continue to advance going forward. So, let us constantly welcome the challenge of change and work toward providing learners with quality technology education. Again, we are Group DTL, the English Gizmos. Thank you and good day.